Just 3 traditional primetime games for the Broncos this year. What is that about? You got a team that's on the rise here with the Broncos. You got a young star quarterback in Bo Nix. You got Sean Payton here. This is a team that made the playoffs last year. Only 3 traditional primetime games. I don't really know what that's about for a marquee franchise like the Broncos. They've got the game in London. That's an exclusive window, and then they also have the game on Christmas night. That's an exclusive window. I guess you could call that primetime, but not a traditional primetime game in the sense of a Thursday night, a Sunday night, and a Monday night. Hello, and thank you for joining us here on Broncos and Bourbon. I'm your host, Phil Milani. Very exciting episode for you today as we are breaking down the 2025 Broncos schedule. Just came out, and I'll tell you how I look at the schedule, things that I look for. I'll tell you right off the bat, there's some very difficult stretches here for the Broncos. The schedule makers making some decisions here that are going to put some stress on the Broncos. We'll go over that. We'll talk about what I think is the biggest matchup on this schedule, and also right about where I think we'll know if this Broncos team has a chance to be a contender, has a chance to make the playoffs again. I'll tell you right about where in the schedule where I think we'll know a lot more about this Broncos team, and then also why the Broncos are facing 2 big division foes to wrap up the season. We'll go over that too a little bit here on this episode. I also have a bourbon review for you today here, Evan Williams single barrel. This one kind of surprised me, so make sure you stick around for the bourbon review at the end. But let's go over this schedule here. The Broncos opening things up at home against Tennessee. The number 1 pick, Cam Ward, expected to make his NFL debut at Empower Field. Right off the bat, the Broncos getting sort of a big game facing the number 1 pick and a Tennessee team that obviously was not very good last season, but they'll be hyped up, I'm sure, to see Cam Ward make his NFL debut. But I'll tell you what, looking at the schedule here, I think that starting week 3, the Broncos have an incredibly tough stretch here, all the way through what I would say is week 7. This is a very difficult stretch for the Broncos. So after Tennessee, they go to Indy, okay? Then week 3 here, they go at LA Chargers, okay? That's a team that made the playoffs a year ago. That's a team that beat the Broncos twice last year. That's a team that the second year with Jim Harbaugh, you expect them to be just a step further along in their process, in really sort of taking on Harbaugh's personality. And, we saw that with the Broncos. It took 2 years for Sean Payton to really get his imprint on the Broncos. So you're expecting more of a Jim Harbaugh team there. Then at home on Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals, another team that beat the Broncos last year, a team that you expect after missing the playoffs last year, a team with so much expectation. They made the big contract moves with their wide receivers. We'll see what happens with Trey Hendrickson here, but Joe Burrow is going to be Joe Burrow. That is going to be an extremely tough game, 2 in a row there for the Broncos. Oh, and then the next week, they go on the road, face the defending Super Bowl champions in the Philadelphia Eagles, okay? Then they go to London right after that. So you're assuming maybe they play on the East Coast, then they'll take off, go right to London, so maybe the travel won't be as bad there. That's what you would sort of expect. But the Broncos not getting a bye week after their game in London. And so that's going to be a hard turnaround there, playing the Jets in London and then coming back for a week 7 matchup against the Giants. So to me, that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that 5-week stretch there, week 3 to week 7, is going to be very difficult for the Broncos. Some really outstanding teams, and then the whole travel deal with going to London, and then facing both New York teams in back-to-back weeks. That is going to be extremely difficult, if you ask me. I think that at that point, if the Broncos are at 500, that would be really, I think, a good start to the season, if you ask me, considering who they're playing and the challenges there. So I think that if the Broncos, after facing the Jets and then the Giants, if they're at 4-3, I'd sign up for that right now, I guess. You might not agree with me, but I think that I would sign up for that right there. Then let's just keep going through this thing. Week 8 at home against Dallas. Dallas just making the move for Pickens. That's going to be interesting to see how that works there in Dallas. We'll see how they bounce back after a down season a year ago. And then obviously the coaching change there. Dak Prescott back. We'll see what happens with the Cowboys. At Houston after that, another playoff team last year, a team with C.J. Stroud heading into his third season on the road in Houston there. And then back home against the Las Vegas Raiders on Thursday night. That's a short week there, going from on the road back home to face the Raiders on Thursday night. And then they go stay at home and face the Chiefs. Then finally, week 12, they get a bye week. That's a late bye week, okay? I know that when coaches get the schedule, one of the first things they look at is where the bye week is. You can look at this two different ways, if you ask me. Week 12 is a late bye week. That could be a really good thing. If you're a team that's hoping to make a long run in the playoffs, having a late bye is a good thing because it gives you a chance to heal up, rest your guys a little bit, get ready, geared up here for a long stretch that you're hoping to make throughout January and on into February. But I will say, if you count 2 weeks of training camp, 3 preseason games, that's 5. Then they got the bye, before the regular season starts. But then you're going 11 straight weeks there with a lot of travel. That can be a long stretch there before that bye week comes. So it could be good. It could be bad. The Broncos had a late bye week last year. Turned out to be no problem at all. And with the job that Bo Lowry, strength and conditioning staff, the trainers over there with the Broncos have done, they've been outstanding with that. And so, we'll see, knock on wood, the Broncos healthy again next year. A late bye could be a positive. Then after that, week 13 at Washington on Sunday Night Football. That to me is the biggest matchup of the year. You're getting Bo Nix versus Jayden Daniels. Mine is slipping. It was a couple of weeks ago as a tight ends. Now it's Jayden Daniels. Bo Nix versus Jayden Daniels. The obvious top 2 picks from a year ago at the quarterback position. At least so far what we've seen from the rookie class from a year ago. Those 2 guys were the top guys last year as rookies. They're going head-to-head at Washington. Washington played in the NFC Championship game last year. The Broncos coming off of a bye week. You're expecting them to be geared up for that one, and it's on Sunday Night Football. That is going to be a huge matchup if you ask me. I love Sunday Night Football. If you ask me, Sunday Night Football is the best broadcast to watch a football game. I think that Tirico and Collinsworth do a great job, but more than that, the whole broadcast is really what I'm talking about here. It's top notch. It's the best. Most camera angles, all the producing, the storylines, everything covered. Sunday Night Football is still the cream of the cream and cream of the crop there. And I think that that's just going to be a huge matchup if you ask me. Then they go on the road to Vegas to face the Raiders, at home against Green Bay, at home against Jacksonville. Then they wrap up the season at Kansas City on Christmas Day. That's going to be a huge game, okay? 2016, I spent Christmas in Kansas City. Absolutely miserable. Dontari Poe threw a touchdown at the end of that game. The Broncos were eliminated from the playoffs in that game. It was the first year after the Super Bowl, so not going back to the playoffs for the first time. It was miserable. It was Christmas, away from family. Hoping this year things go a little bit different in Kansas City. But that's going to be an absolutely monster game. And then they wrap up the season at home against the Chargers. The NFL likes to schedule division opponents to wrap up the season, okay? Because there's more storylines going into a division game. If both teams suck, then you at least have a little bit of a rivalry there. If both teams are good, you could be contending for a division title. And if both teams are good, obviously playoff standing. So they like to have division games there to wrap up. And look, the Broncos next season need to make a run at winning the AFC West, okay? Enough of the Chiefs here winning in a million years in a row. The Broncos, in my mind, to take a next step next year, two things have to happen. Either a playoff win or winning the division. One of those two. Personally, I'd like the playoff win better, but if they won the division, that would be a significant step in the right direction, if you ask me. So they've said it as much. They've got their sights set on the Chiefs. If they want to do it, that Kansas City game on Christmas, it's obviously not a must win, but that game is just going to be so huge, okay? And then the Chargers. I expect the Chargers to take a big step here this year. They had a decent offseason, and I just think that another year with Harbaugh. Justin Herbert is getting some doubters this offseason, has not won a playoff game yet. People are starting to wonder, hey, is this guy really one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL? He's got some stuff to answer this year, if you ask me, Justin Herbert. And just with that chip on his shoulder, I expect him to come out there and compete hard. The other thing, I mean, it's silly to talk about games this late in the season just because you don't know what the injury status is. You don't know what these two teams are going to look like. But just on paper, at least, these two are going to be absolutely monster games. So that's going through the whole schedule there for the Broncos. In my opinion, I think that we'll know what this Broncos team is made of right around week 10 or 11. Going at home against the Raiders on Thursday night, after playing a road game against a playoff team from last year in the Texans, you're going to know just how tough this team is, what their makeup is, what their character is, and then facing the Chiefs, okay? You could talk about beating them and going for the division. That game you're going to have to put up, okay? And they got to leave it all out there. The bye week is the week after that. You don't want to go into the bye week having lost to your division rival, a team that's, where you want to be, right? That week 10 and 11 right there, I think we'll know, okay, this Broncos team is for real. If their record at that point in the season heading into the bye is like 7-4, we'll know that they're legit, that they're gearing up for a run, But if they're like, hey, if they're just kind of like hanging around or just in the mix, we'll know on the other side too at that point, I think it's an absolute brutal stretch there from week 3 to week 7. But I also think that after facing Washington the week after the bye, you've got a little bit of breathing room. So, the Packers are going to be tough, but you might have like a little bit of room there with the Raiders, Jacksonville there. Jacksonville, Travis Hunter coming back to play in Colorado. Maybe that's a bigger game than you think, but I'm expecting Jacksonville to not be, hey, who knows? There's always teams that go from, the bottom to the top. We saw the turnaround the Broncos made last year. Jacksonville, new coach there. They're expecting to be a little bit better. They had obviously a down year last year, but should be a better team. So we'll see Evan Ingram facing his former team. Come on, that's gotta count for something. So I don't know. I think that the schedule is tough. This is tough here. I think that like the easy games on the schedule here, maybe like the Jets and Giants, but because it's in London and then a quick turnaround, those aren't necessarily so easy. Maybe the first 2 games of the year, Tennessee and Indy, those maybe are easier games on the schedule. So you could start out 2-0. You're feeling pretty good, feeling pretty hyped. But the rest of it, yeah, it's tough on paper, I'd say here. Uh, One thing I did want to say that was very surprising to me, just 3 traditional primetime games for the Broncos this year. What is that about? You got a team that's on the rise here with the Broncos. You got a young star quarterback in Bo Nix. You got Sean Payton here. This is a team that made the playoffs last year. Only 3 traditional primetime games. I don't really know what that's about for a marquee franchise like the Broncos. They've got the game in London. That's an exclusive window, and then they also have the game on Christmas night. That's an exclusive window. I guess you could call that primetime, but not a traditional primetime game in the sense of a Thursday night, a Sunday night, and a Monday night. The Broncos getting all 3 of those, but just one of each. So I would have expected the Broncos to be maybe on Sunday Night Football one other time. They could get flexed into that window, obviously, if they turn out to be really good. Like, I could see maybe like that Green Bay game being flexed in there, later in the season. But yeah, I don't know. I would have thought maybe they would have had more primetime games. I'm willing to bet that Dallas game in Denver is like the late game, afternoon game on Fox. So plenty of eyeballs are going to see the Broncos, but I would have thought maybe more respect given what they did last year. The fact that they have a young star quarterback, I would have thought maybe more primetime games. But hey, let them sleep on the Broncos. Let them sleep on them. See what they do late, and maybe they get flexed in. And hey, if that game against the Chargers is for the division, that could obviously be on Sunday Night Football to wrap up the season. But that was a little bit surprising to me. So yeah, what else do I want to say here? I think that's it. Weeks 3 through 7 going to be very difficult for the Broncos. If they can sort of just hang around there at 500 at that point, it would be good. Then maybe you go on a little bit of a run. If you can knock off Dallas, maybe you catch Houston, and then like I mentioned, that Raiders game on Thursday night, and then the Chiefs before the bye. If you can go on a little bit of a run there, then you're feeling pretty good. Big time matchup with Washington, and then Raiders, Green Bay, Jacksonville, and then the 2 big ones before the end of the season. So, hey, if you want to make the playoffs, you got to beat these good teams, and that's something that the Broncos struggled with down the stretch of the season last year. They did not have a lot of success against playoff teams, teams with winning records. It didn't go in the Broncos' favor there down the stretch of the season. That Chiefs game against the backups, that doesn't count in my mind. So seeing them beat some of these good teams, that could be really big for the Broncos in building confidence and saying, hey, last year wasn't a fluke. It could be a momentum building opportunity there for the Broncos. So, one thing I know that, hey, Pat Bowlen, the former Broncos owner, used to say is, he used to say 16-0. Let's go through here and let's see a little prediction, okay? I'm going to say Tennessee. I'm going to say that's a win. Indianapolis, I'm going to say that's a win. At the Chargers, I'm going to say loss. Versus Cincinnati at home, loss. At Philadelphia, I'm going to say that's a loss, but then I'm going to say the Broncos get back on track. They beat the Jets. They beat the Giants, that's a good stretch there, 4-3. That's where I think that if they can do that, you're feeling pretty good. You got Dallas after that. I say that's a win. At Houston, maybe that's a loss. The Raiders on Thursday night, I'm going to say that's a win. And the Chiefs at home, I'm going to say that's a win. Come on. 7-4 at the bye. You're feeling good about this Broncos team at that point. Then you go to Washington on Sunday Night Football. I'm going to say that's a loss. At the Raiders, that's a win, I'm going to say. Green Bay at home, I'm going to say that's a loss. Then Jacksonville at home, I'm going to say is a win. So you're at 9-6 here. Then at Kansas City. Oh man. I'm going to say that's a loss. So going into the final game of the season, you're 9-7, and I say they beat the Chargers. I say that they're 10-7 after looking at this. 10-7. They don't win the division, but they make the playoffs again is what I would say, which is I think they win a playoff game too next year, but maybe they don't win the division. Let's say that 10-7. Maybe they could go 11-6. I don't know. Maybe they could turn one of those around, but I'm going to say 10-7 right now. I know that's going to come back and bite me. I know that's going to. I know. And you guys are going to crush me for that, which is good. You got to hold me accountable. But I'm going to say 10-7 here. Broncos don't win the division, but I think they get a good wild card matchup, and I think that they can win that at 10-7. Which, look, there's a lot of things that can go a lot of different ways here. One of the big storylines is how is Bo Nix going to avoid a sophomore slump? Did the Broncos do enough on the offensive side of the ball to help him this offseason? Clearly, on paper, they've got the best defense in the NFL. That's going to be a huge advantage for Bo. But did they do enough on the offensive side of the ball to help him? We've seen pictures of Quadzilla and Harvey from the rookie mini camp. Man, those quads were insane. If you haven't seen that, check out Ryan Green on X, and he's got some great photos there. He looks like Von Miller quads. I mean, it's insane. So maybe they got a guy there, and maybe that's what they needed was just one piece like that. But that's going to be the big storyline. And if you can go 10-7 and follow up a playoff year with another one, I think that's a good sign. And then if you could get the win in the playoffs, then it's a successful season. So I don't know. We'll see. It's fun to just kind of go through it. I know it's silly, right? Just looking at these things, you don't know what any of the health, things could just go in so many different directions in the NFL with health just being such a huge factor. And then the other thing you have to always consider is that, like I mentioned earlier, one of these teams that right now doesn't look that good is going to be really good next year. And some of these teams that look really good now aren't going to be very good. So who knows? I mean, like, you could see Jacksonville being a really good team that gets things flipped around. You could see Green Bay going the other way, just depending on what's happening there in the NFC North, the toughest division, kind of in football. It is in football. So, you can just see these things go in so many different ways. I think it's fun to look at the matchups. That Washington game is obviously going to be really fun. That Cincinnati game on Monday night, you get the rematch of that amazing game last year in Cincinnati. If it could only be half as good as that game, it's still going to be a huge treat. You got the game at Philadelphia, the Super Bowl champs. The last time the Broncos played in Philadelphia, they ran out of fireworks. So if you could go in there and knock out the Super Bowl champs and sort of say, hey, that was some BS last time running out of fireworks, that could be pretty awesome, I would say. And so it's fun to look at these matchups on paper. Schedule is tough, though. I'll say that. Schedule is tough. Doing the Chargers, Cincinnati, Philadelphia, and then a game in London, and then coming back in another game. That's just going to be really tough, if you ask me. The Giants, those pass rushers, that's no joke there. Dallas could be much better next year. So there's a lot of unknowns, but it's fun to kind of go through and make a prediction here. I say 10-7, and I'm sure I'll eat crow on that later. Did want to say shout out to my very good friend, Eric Dalala, my old buddy in the podcasting world. Today is his favorite day of the entire NFL calendar. He's crazy, if you ask me, but he really enjoys the schedule coming out, so shout out to him. I'm curious, though, what is your favorite day of the entire NFL calendar? I know for me it's Championship Sunday. I love seeing those two games back to back. If you have to pick one day, the divisional round weekend is the best weekend, but just one day, Championship Sunday. Dalala, he loves the schedule release, so good for him there. So that's my take on the schedule. 3 primetime games. I don't know. There's primetime games, and then there's exclusive windows. Broncos get 5 exclusive windows. That Kansas City game on Christmas, you could call primetime. it's on Prime, so maybe it is prime time. So maybe 3, 4, however you look at it, and then the London game. I would have thought more. I would have thought maybe 2 Sunday nights and maybe 2 Monday nights is what I would have thought, especially with how many Monday night games they're playing these days. I just would have thought more. So that's my take on the schedule. I did want to get to a bourbon review. Haven't done one in a little while. This is Evan Williams Single Barrel Vintage. Now, some of you might be thinking, Evan Williams, come on. I drank Evan Williams in college. That's that's sort of like a cheaper bourbon, but this is the single barrel, okay? And this is sort of just a fun bottle is what I would say. And single barrel, of course, means that it's not blended with other barrels. Typically, you're buying a bourbon, it's a blend of barrels. That way, you're getting a more consistent flavor profile. You're buying a bottle of Maker's Mark, it's going to taste like Maker's Mark because the bottles or the barrels have been blended. That's the goal, is consistency, right? Then there's small batch, which is just a couple of barrels there. Then there's single barrel, okay? And what's fun about this is that on the back of the bottle here, it says barreled on. So this bottle here was barreled on October 27th, 2016. So it's kind of cool because you can go around stores and try and find bottles that were sort of born on or barreled on a significant date. Then it tells you what the barrel number is, 626. And then it says it's bottled on October 24th, 2024. So this one was barreled for 8 years. Okay. Almost exactly 8 years. All of the single barrels have to be aged at least 7 to 8 years. But that's kind of a cool thing. You can either find one that was bottled on a significant day for you or barreled on. Maybe a buddy of yours has a kid. You try to find one that was bottled on the kid's birthday. You give it to him as a gift. Kind of a cool deal. So you could tell I've had some of this here. I've been sampling it, if you will. Dark golden color here on the bottle, and then a thick wax, which I think is cool. That's kind of like a Maker's Mark thing. I do kind of like the thick wax here. So you pop the cork here. I will say this is a lower proof. It's 86.6 proof. So I'm going to pour this here. I would say you could drink this neat if you wanted to. I found that if I had a rock that melted a little too much, it really sort of watered down the flavor here on this one. So the mash bill here is 78% corn, 12% rye, and 10% barley. So the nose, you can smell sweet, vanilla, sort of a caramel. But yeah, you can definitely getting wafts of vanilla and sweetness. It's very smooth. I have been drinking this a little bit here, and it's very nice. It's got a little bit of complexity that you would expect in a barrel. Your bottle is going to taste different than my bottle, but just because it's most likely coming from a different barrel. But it's sweet. You can taste some of the oak because it's been aged for 7 to 8 years. Cinnamon, some spice there. It's smooth, and then you get a little bit of heat from the flavor, like a pepper, and then it kind of goes off into like sort of a smooth, sort of sweet finish, and it lasts. It's got a good finish. This is a nice drinking bourbon, I would say. And I will say I got this bottle for under $30. So under $30, you're getting sort of a unique, somewhat complicated bourbon that's got a nice finish, and it's got a low proof, so you can just sort of enjoy a couple of these. And yeah, I think it's fun to find one of these that the date you can sort of collect a bottle and Yeah, I was reading up about this, and I was like, oh, Evan Williams, single barrel. Let's give it a try. And I enjoyed this. I think that this is sort of a cool little bottle to have, and it could belong on your cart. So yeah, I enjoyed that. So I would definitely recommend that and give that a taste. So. All right, well, that's going to do it for us. Taking a look here at the schedule, I think the Broncos go 10-7 at this point, just with how things shake out there for them. But I will say a 7-4 start. I think I would take that right now at the bye, and then hey, maybe down the stretch you knock off teams that maybe you didn't think you were going to, and you could really make a push for the division. But I would say another playoff year here for the Broncos after taking a look at the schedule. And, one of the cool things about the NFL is that as you get better, your schedule gets tougher. And that's what you want as fans. I mean, there's some awesome matchups in here, like I highlighted. That's what you're looking for here. You want fun games. So, I hope that you enjoyed the breakdown there. If you did, like and subscribe. One other thing you could leave a comment on is I'm sort of trying to grow out this beard a little bit. It looks really patchy. I go back and forth on it. Some days I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm cool enough to do that. Other days I'm like, it's so patchy, I look stupid. Please let me know if you think it looks stupid. And whatever you say, I'll follow it. I'm dedicated to you guys. So let me know what you think. So what's next on the NFL calendar here? We got the offseason program really getting started. We're going to have some mini camps here. Maybe we'll break down what we think of the state of the Broncos roster is. That's what I was thinking. Maybe the next episode is just really taking a look at the roster. Did they address enough of their concerns, and what we think that the strengths are going to be for this team, and how they look moving forward. It's going to be a good chance to see what some of these new additions look like in a Broncos uniform. Some guys coming back from some injuries. How do they look out on the field? So we'll get some more episodes going here as the off-season program continues on here through the course of May and early June. So that's going to do it for us. Please like and subscribe again, and we'll keep it rolling here. So that's going to do it for us. I'm Phil Milani for Broncos and Bourbon.